November 1967. The Central Highlands of South Vietnam, a place where the jungle swallows sound, where the enemy digs in so deep that artillery shells just churn mud, where every step could be your last. The North Vietnamese army has a plan, not to win a battle, to win a war. They want to lure American troops away from the cities, to the border, to the mountains, to a killing ground called Dak Tu. 6,000 PAVN soldiers wait in bunkers so well built that B-52 strikes barely scratch them. They want a brigade. They want to annihilate American paratroopers on live radio. They want another Dien Bien Phu. But they don't know who they're fighting. This is the Battle of Dak Tu. 16,000 American and South Vietnamese troops. 376 American dead. 1,441 wounded. In one Hill 875, that would become a name whispered by veterans for 50 years. I'm going to take you inside that jungle, inside the ambushes, inside the friendly fire that nearly destroyed a battalion, and inside the decision that changed the course of the Tet Offensive. But first, smash that subscribe button to Battle Bits. Because this isn't a history lesson. This is a patrol. And we're stepping off right now. To understand Dak Tu, you have to go back to the summer of 1967. The Vietnam War is at a strange crossroads. President Lyndon Johnson has committed over 500,000 American troops. General William Westmoreland is preaching attrition. Kill enough enemy soldiers, and North Vietnam will give up. But the North Vietnamese have a different idea. Their commander in the South, General Nguyen Chi Thanh, believes in strategic raids, large-scale attacks that force American troops to defend remote border regions, expose them, bleed them. And while America bleeds in the mountains, the Viet Cong will strike the cities. It's a trap, and Westmoreland walks right into it. Western Cam Province, jungle-covered mountains that rise to 4,000 feet, triple canopy forest, monsoon rains. The Ho Chi Minh Trail snakes through here, pumping men and supplies from North Vietnam into the Central Highlands. In August 1967, the People's Army of Vietnam, the PAVN, launches a series of attacks. Major General William R. Pears, commander of the 4th Infantry Division, responds with Operation Greeley. His troops, the 4th Infantry's IV Division and the 173rd Airborne Brigade, the Sky Soldiers. For 2 months, they sweep the jungle. Sharp firefights, quick kills. Then, in August, the enemy disappears. The Americans think they've withdrawn into Cambodia and Laos. They are wrong. September is quiet. Too quiet. Then October. U.S. intelligence reports something alarming. PAVN regiments that were near Pleiku are moving north, toward Con Tum, toward Dak Tu. By early November, the Americans realize they're facing not a regiment, but a division. The 1st PAVN Division, 4 regiments. The 24th, 32nd, 66th, and 174th, 6,000 men. Well-armed, well-fed, and dug in on the hills surrounding Dak Tu. The PAVN plan is audacious. They want to isolate and destroy a brigade-sized American force. A full battalion if they can get it. General Nguyen Chi Thanh believes that a spectacular American defeat, live on the evening news, will break American will. And he has the perfect bait, the Dak Tu airstrip, a lifeline, a target. November 3rd, 1967. Operation MacArthur begins. 3 battalions, 3rd of the 12th Infantry, 3rd of the 8th Infantry, and the 173rd Airborne. Their mission, find and destroy the PAVN buildup. But here's where the story takes its first sharp turn. On the same day, a North Vietnamese sergeant defects. His name, Vu Hong. He walks into an American position and asks to speak to an officer. He's not a farmer. He's not a confused conscript. He's a trained NCO with detailed knowledge of the entire PAVN battle plan. Sergeant Vu Hong gives Major General Pierce a gift worth more than 100 B, 52 strikes. He reveals every regiment's location, every objective, every approach route. Pierce now knows exactly where the enemy is and what they intend to do. Instead of stumbling into ambushes, American troops go on the offensive. They hit the PAVN before the PAVN can hit Dak 2. But knowing where the enemy is and digging them out of a mountain are two very different things. The hills around Dak are not natural defenses. They are fortresses. The PAVN has spent months preparing. Bunkers with overhead cover, interlocking fields of fire, tunnel systems that allow retreat and reinforcement, booby traps, punji pits, snipers and trees. The American answer is brutal and methodical. Step 1. Locate the enemy. Long-range reconnaissance patrols, LRRPs, move through the jungle at night. They mark coordinates. They call in artillery. Step 2. Massive firepower. Artillery batteries fire 105 millimeters and 155 millimeters shells. Howitzers, mortars. Then the Air Force. F-4 Phantoms with napalm. F-100 Super Sabres with cluster bombs. And above them all, the B-52 Stratofortresses flying at 30,000 feet, dropping 500-pound bombs in arc light strikes. Step 3. Infantry assault. The paratroopers and grunts go up the hill. Against machine guns. Against rocket-propelled grenades. Against men who have been ordered to die in place. Fire support Base 15. On Hill 823 becomes the nerve center. Bravo Company, 4th Battalion, 173rd Airborne holds it. From there, the Sky's soldiers push out to clear the ridges. The first major firefights come on hills 724 and 882. The PAVN fights for every inch. Then, as quickly as they appeared, they vanish into the jungle, leaving their dead, taking their wounded. But the PAVN isn't running. They're resetting. November 12th, 1967. Dak to airstrip, the lifeline of the entire operation. C-130 Hercules transports land and take off around the clock, bringing ammunition, food, and water. Taking out wounded. The PAVN has been watching. They know the schedule. They know the approach paths. At dawn, rockets and mortar shells rain down. Not a probing attack. A coordinated strike. The first C-130 explodes on the runway. Then a second. A third. The ammunition depot detonates. 1,100 tons of ordnance, artillery shells, mortar rounds, small arms ammunition. Cooks off in a chain of explosions that lasts for hours. Fuel bladders burst into towering fireballs. When the smoke clears, the airstrip is a cratered ruin. 3 C-130s destroyed. Dozens of Americans dead or wounded. And the supply line temporarily severed. The PAVN has bloodied the Americans without even showing themselves. But the real blow is psychological. For the first time, the Sky's soldiers realize the enemy isn't just defending. They're hunting. November 19th, 1967. For days after the airstrip attack, the 2nd Battalion of the 503rd Airborne, 2/503, receives orders. Their objective, Hill 875, a 3,000-foot ridge overlooking Dak 2. Intelligence says it's held by a company-sized PAVN force. It's a lie. The 2/503 moves out at first light. Alpha and Bravo companies lead. Charlie Company follows. The jungle is so thick that men walk shoulder to shoulder. Visibility, 10 feet. The heat is suffocating. The humidity clings like a wet blanket. By mid-morning, they reach the base of the hill. No contact. Too quiet. At 10:30 a.m., the point squad from Alpha Company trips an ambush. Not a small one. A battalion-sized killing zone. PAVN soldiers pop up from bunkers that were invisible 30 seconds ago. Machine guns from 3 directions. Rocket-propelled grenades. Mortars. The sky soldiers hit the dirt. But there is no cover. The jungle floor is bare mud. Bullets kick up splinters. Men scream for medics. Within 10 minutes, Alpha Company's command group is wiped out. The company commander is dead. His radio operator is dead. The platoon leaders are dead or wounded. Bravo Company tries to maneuver left. They run into another ambush. Charlie Company tries to go right. The same. The 2/503 is surrounded. Outnumbered. And then, the worst happens. A forward air controller overhead sees movement on a ridge. He thinks it's PAVN reinforcing the ambush. He calls in a napalm strike. The strike hits the American perimeter. Friendly fire. Sky soldiers burning to death under American napalm. The forward air controller realizes his mistake. He screams, "Abort! Abort!" But it's too late. Dozens of paratroopers are killed or horribly burned. Survivors would later describe the smell of cooking human flesh. The battalion chaplain, Father John Carroll, runs through the flames giving last rites to men who are still on fire. The 2/503 is not relieved until the next day. For 24 hours, they hold a shrinking perimeter. Ammo runs low. Water runs out. Wounded men die because medics can't reach them. They survive, but the battalion will never be the same. November 21st, 1967. 2 days after the ambush. The 2/503 is reinforced by the 4th Battalion and the 1st Battalion. Nearly 1,000 American paratroopers prepare to take the crest of Hill 875. The PAVN knows they're coming. They've had 2 days to dig new bunkers, to rearm, to prepare. The assault begins at first light. No artillery prep. The ground is too soft, the bunker's too deep. It's going to be close combat. Bayonets, grenades, rifle butts. The sky soldiers move up the slope in squad rushes. One squad moves. The next covers. The PAVN waits until the Americans are 20 meters away, then opens fire. What follows is savage. Men kill men with entrenching tools. A medic uses a pistol to shoot a PAVN soldier who is trying to bayonet a wounded paratrooper. An M60 machine gunner fires until his barrel glows red, then keeps firing. By nightfall, the Americans are 50 meters from the crest, but they are exhausted, out of grenades, low on ammunition. They dig in for the night. November 22nd. No assault. Instead, the U.S. Air Force and Army artillery turn the crest of Hill 875 into a moonscape. B-52s drop their loads from high altitude. The ground shakes. Trees are pulverized. Bunkers collapse. When the bombing stops, there is no jungle left. Just mud, craters, and shredded bodies. November 23rd. Thanksgiving Day. The Americans move to the top of Hill 875. They find no enemy. The PAVN has withdrawn during the night. They left behind their dead, their weapons, their wounded, some still alive, propped against collapsed bunkers with grenades in their hands, waiting for the Americans to come. The battle for Hill 875 is over. The Battle of Dak ends in late November 1967. The PAVN's 1st Division is shattered. 3 of its 4 regiments are so badly mauled that they cannot participate in the upcoming Tet Offensive. The cost to the Americans and South Vietnamese is staggering. 376 American dead, 1,441 American wounded, 79 ARVN, Army of Vietnam, killed. In the course of the fighting, Allied forces fired 151,000 artillery rounds. Flou 2,096 tactical est sorti. Conducted 2 57B, 52 arc light strikes. Initial U.S. estimates claimed 1,600 PAVN killed. Later, more sober assessments put the number between 1,000 and 1,445. But in the Vietnam War, body counts were always uncertain. The jungle hides everything. The Battle of Dak To was a tactical victory. The Americans held the field. The PAVN withdrew. The airstrip was repaired. The hills were cleared. But here is the strategic twist, the one that would echo through 1968. The PAVN did not achieve their goal of destroying an American brigade, but they did achieve something else. They pulled American troops to the border. By January 1968, half of all U.S. combat units were operating away from cities and lowlands. General William Westmoreland's staff noticed something alarming. The pattern looked familiar. A remote base, surrounded by mountains, supplied only by air. Enemy forces massing in the hills. They had seen this before. Dien Bien Phu, 1954. The French defeat that ended the First Indochina War. Now, the same thing was happening at a place called Khe Sanh, a Marine combat base near the DMZ. Surrounded, under siege, Westmoreland poured resources into Khe Sanh. He was obsessed with not losing another Dien Bien Phu. And while he watched the hills of Khe Sanh, the Viet Cong and PAVN prepared something else. Something far bigger. On January 30th, 1968, the Tet holiday, North Vietnam launched a massive, nationwide offensive. Over 80,000 attackers struck more than 100 cities and towns. The U.S. Embassy in Saigon was breached. The ancient capital of Hue fell for 3 weeks. The Tet Offensive was a military disaster for North Vietnam. They lost over 30,000 men, but it was a political victory. American television audiences saw the fighting in their living rooms. They saw a general say, "We have turned a corner," while a Viet Cong sapper squad blew a hole in the embassy wall. The Battle of Dak To and the other border battles of late 1967 had one key strategic effect. They fixed American attention on the periphery. They emptied the cities. And when Tet came, the Americans were caught flat-footed. Major General William Peers won his battle, but he may have lost the war. Hill 875 today is overgrown. The jungle has reclaimed the craters. The bunkers have collapsed. Monsoon rains have washed away the blood. But the 173rd Airborne Brigade remembers. Every November, veterans gather. They exchange names. They tell stories. They cry. The 2nd Battalion of the 503rd Infantry, the hardcore battalion, still carries the scars of November 19th, 1967. The friendly fire. The napalm. The men who burned to death under American bombs. They do not blame the forward air controller. They do not blame the pilots. They blame the war. Dak To was a battle the Americans won. But like so many battles in Vietnam, winning felt like losing. The PAVN was driven from Con Nam province. But they came back. The hills were cleared. But they were never held. The border battles of 1967 set the stage for Tet. And Tet set the stage for the American withdrawal. So what was the Battle of Dak To? A tactical masterpiece? A strategic blunder? A desperate fight between two armies that understood the jungle better than they understood their own governments? Yes, all of that. The Sky Soldiers of the 173rd Airborne fought like lions. They took a hill that cost them 376 brothers. They killed over 1,000 of the enemy. They proved that American paratroopers could go into the worst terrain on Earth, find a determined enemy, and break him. But the enemy came back, because that's what enemies do. That's the story of Dak To. But we have so many more battles to cover. Ia Drang, Hue, Hamburger Hill, the battles you've heard of, and the ones you haven't. This is Battle Bits. If you want the next deep dive, the most misunderstood battle of the Vietnam War, subscribe now. hit the bell, and we'll see you on the next one.